Welcome, welcome. We're back for our style series on how to write with a more formal tone. This series is really a lot about what not to do. We've already talked about avoiding personal pronouns and contractions, and in this video, we're going to talk about avoiding vague words and expressions. So this is language that tends to be too broad, too general, and therefore doesn't really mean much of anything. Let's take a look at some examples of what I'm talking about. For instance, if I were to tell you the new vaccine is very effective, well, what does very even mean? It could mean something very different for you than it does for me. Does very mean that it's 50% effective? Because that's 20% more effective than any of the vaccines they tried before. Or does it mean the new vaccine is 80% effective? Now, if you tell me that, then I know precisely what you mean, and I can actually make decisions based on that real data. And this is why a word like very is too general, too broad, too vague to use in formal writing. Whenever we're talking formal writing, we are talking specific language. Let's consider another example. Words like big, a lot, huge, again, could mean something quite different to you than it does to me. In Miami, I'm average size. In Scandinavia, I'm tiny. So let's look at this sentence as an example. COVID-19 has become a huge problem throughout the world. Well, huge is relative. So instead, you might say something like, as of January 2021, all but 14 countries had reported cases of COVID. That's very precise. And your reader will read that and possibly think, wow, like a huge portion of the world had COVID. But that's a determination that they come to from the actual data rather than just what I think huge might mean. Let's try one more. Many people are homeowners. Well, how many is many? So let's try this version instead. US home ownership rates are at 64%. Now I have specific data and I might read that and think, oh, 64%, that's quite a lot of people. Or I might read it and think 64%, I was expecting that to be higher. So it really is relative, which is why the word many is too vague to use in formal writing. Now notice I did something else with that sentence. Rather than just saying people, I specified US home ownership. Because you might be talking about the US, you might be talking about home ownership in Tunisia, you might be talking about European home ownership. So it really does depend. Don't assume that the entire world kind of lives in your bubble. Make sure to always specify for your reader. And that is just generally one of the keys of formal writing. If we're talking formal writing, we are being as specific, as precise, as scientific as possible. I would suggest that you pause here and you try to make a list of all of the vague words that you can think of that you potentially have used in writing before. I will wait. Okay, we're back. I hope you did that. Let's talk about some of the other words. Small, tiny, good, great, amazing, wonderful, incredible. What does any of that actually mean? Bad, horrible. Thing. What's the thing? Can you please define the thing? Kind of, sort of. Interesting. Has the word interesting really ever helped you in any way? So let's say, for instance, that a friend of yours went to see a movie and you're trying to decide whether or not it's worth your money to go to the movies to see it yourself. And you ask her, oh, how was it? Did you like the movie? And she says, oh, it was interesting. Does that help you in any way decide whether or not you're going to go see that movie? Probably not. Important. Important in what way? Really is a lot like the word very. Just, basically, somehow. You get the idea. This is a short list. There are many of these types of words. So you just have to start developing a kind of sixth sense for them and then scan through your paper hunting for them, spot them, and remove them from your writing. So that's it. Once you start to move from vague, sort of wishy-washy language to much more specific language, your writing will automatically start to sound a lot more academic, a lot more formal.